Hello and thank you for joining me. Today I'm bringing you a class full of movement but at a nice gentle intensity. So let's get started on hands and knees. We're going to start warming out the wrists. So if you can come onto the hands and knees position and just start to gently pad left and right hand up and off the mat. This just takes a little bit more load into each wrist. We're also trying to grip through the finger pads here as well. This will help to take some of the load out of purely the wrists because it can sometimes be a little bit intense. Let's start to walk the fingertips so that they point towards the edges of the mat and keep padding out through the hands. Again, using those finger pads for grip to help take some of the weight. And then we're just going to sit back off the wrists for a moment. Bring your hands together to create a fist and start to slowly circle through the wrists there. Change direction and circle those back the other way. And then give your wrists a really nice shake out. Join me back on hands and knees. We're going to do some articulation for the spine. So we'll move into the cat-cow movements. If you can drop your belly, stick your tailbone up and lift the bottom. Open the collarbones, open the chest and look ahead of you. You'll get a really nice arch in the back. Then we start to lift the spine up to the ceiling, rounding the spine. Tuck the tail, tuck the chin, and then into your back bend again. We'll inhale here. Exhale, rounding the spine, tucking tail, tucking chin. Inhale for back bend. Exhale to get that forward bend into the spine. Inhale to back bend, open the chest. Exhale, rounding. Inhale, back bending. Exhale, rounding. Now keep your hands in place or take them slightly wider apart if you find it more comfortable. And we're going to start to circle the chest. It's going to come to one side of the mat, come down, skim past the mat and circle back up to the side. So you're doing circles side to side across your mat. And as you go, think cat-cow. So get the rounded spine at the top and the back bend at the bottom. So we're still looking for lovely back bend and forward bend like we did in the previous movement, but we're adding a little bit more directional change and a little bit more movement and stretch. Let's change direction. So rolling the chest, circling the chest the other way across the mat. And again, still thinking about rounding that spine and bending that spine so that we go for full range of movement. Taking that final circle and back to hands and knees. Spread the finger pads, use them to help you, and find a more neutral, natural position for your spine now. Just draw the shoulder blades down and draw the shoulders down away from the ears. Start looking over your shoulder and look towards your toes, and then looking the other way. As you take these looks side to side, allow your spine to bend. So allow your shoulder girdle to twist towards the hips, so that we get this lateral flexion, side bending into the spinal column. Lovely, just keep going nice and gently with those. Finding a nice even breath. Just warming up, loving our spine. And finally, walk the hands forward slightly and sink the hips back to a child's pose position. Now you can rest your heads or your chin on the ground here. You don't have to stretch super far with the arms. You can relax the shoulders and retract the shoulder joints a little bit if that feels better. Take a few moments here, settling through the hips, settling the sit bones back towards the heels. And then we're going to start stretching a little bit more. So walking your hands towards the top left corner of your mat. Don't worry if you're nowhere near it. Reach for it. And you'll feel this exaggerated stretch down the right side of the body. Take a few moments. Using your inhale to lengthen that right side. So as you inhale, breathing into the right side of the rib cage, feel the expansion and the length down the right side of the body. And a couple more breaths. And then starting to walk your hands back through the center and reaching for the top right corner of the mat this time. Relax the head down there and feel that exaggerated length down the left side. Keep drawing the left sit bone back towards the heels. Use that left side of the body for expanding with the breath. That's it. Use the left side of the ribs to breathe wide. And create length from your armpit down to your sit bone. And walking the hands back through to the center. This time we're going to take the right hand and we're going to try and thread it underneath the left armpit. So start taking your twist through and under, and look under your left armpit as well. Try and reach your arm forwards and through, and breathe in the twist. Your breath is going to have to come into your back and the back of the rib cage here, because there isn't much space at the front. And then unwinding back to center, and take your left hand, thread it under your right armpit and try and look under your right. Breathing here, as we've said, breathing into the back and the sides of the body. And bringing yourself back to a child's pose. From the child's pose position, come back to hands and knees. Start to tuck the toes underneath you and walk the hands back in. We're going to go bottom up and head down to find our forward fold, and just take a moment here in the forward fold position. So first things first is to think about softening the knees. You don't have to lock them, okay? Next thing to think about is perhaps lifting your tailbone a little bit higher. And again, that doesn't mean that you have to lock the knees. You can keep a softness, but try and lengthen your tailbone up toward the ceiling. Then let your arms and shoulders feel nice and heavy, and let the crown of your head droop towards the mat. Let the back of the neck go. If you can do that, it feels awesome. So really try and let the back of the neck go. Now to rebuild up to standing, we're going to find even weight through the feet. So find your toes, find the balls of the feet and find the heels. Soften the knees if you've locked them again. And then start to push through the feet. Start to tuck your tailbone right down towards the mat. That's going to lead the spinal movement. As you tuck the tailbone, find the nice neutral hips. Rebuild the rib cage above the pelvis. Shoulder blades sit down into their pockets. Shoulders come to relax above the rib cage, neck and head are nice and tall there. So you just have a nice check-in with that posture. Let's go into second roll down. So tuck the chin. You're going to take your rib cage and roll it towards your pelvis, rounding the back, soft knees. As the back rounds, the tummy engages, the back and the front co-contract together into your forward fold. Again, lifting through the tailbone, heavy arms, heavy shoulders. We're going to take a little sway side to side, so that might mean wiggling your bottom, or it might mean a sway through the upper body. Just taking that gentle sway side to side. And you might be feeling this in left and right leg, you might be feeling it in lower back, or maybe sort of all of that. And sometimes this comes into neck and upper back as well, anywhere at the back chain of the body. And then we're going to recenter. Soften the knees again, find the weight in the feet, so the toes, the balls of the feet, the heels. Start to press down through the mat, squeeze the bottom as you tuck the tailbone, bring the ribs back above the hips, shoulders back above the ribs, neck tall and head tall, and then we are upstanding. Let's go again, starting to tuck and roll. This time, once you're in your forward fold, you can keep your feet down, but just gently bend one knee and then bend the other. Bend one and bend the other. And then let's take our hands towards the mat and start to walk out to our plank position. So walking the hands forwards to your plank. If you need to bring it to the knees at this point, feel free to take it to the knees. Draw your shoulders down, draw your shoulder blades down, and open, please, through your collarbones. Keep the neck nice and long in line with the rest of the spine, and push back through your heels, lengthen forwards through your crown. Start to walk those hands back in towards the feet, and we'll come to roll back up to standing. So as we come up to standing, we're going to take an inhale to prepare. Exhale, roll it down a little bit quicker. Walk out to plank on the inhale. Hold plank. Inhale to prepare. Exhale to walk back in. Inhale at the bottom of the roll down. Exhale, let's roll ourselves back up to standing. Inhale, nice and tall. Exhale, roll down. Inhale as you walk the hands forwards to plank. Exhale to hold the plank. Inhale to prepare in the plank. Exhale, walk the hands back to forward fold. For an inhale in forward fold. Soften the knees, roll up to standing as you exhale. Inhale at the top of the posture. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, walk out to plank position. Exhale, hold your nice strong long plank, and inhale to prepare. Exhale, walking the hands back in towards the feet. Find forward fold for your inhale. Exhale, rolling back up to standing. Inhale, preparing. Exhale, roll down. Inhale, walk out to plank. And holding your plank. We're going to stay in plank for a little bit longer. And then we're going to push to a downward dog. So that means lifting your hips skyward. And you can walk your hands and feet a little bit closer to one another if that feels more comfortable. I want you to find an achievable downward dog. So the goal here is to eventually try and get your heels down toward the mat, but that takes quite a few months of practice, so don't worry if you're not there. Lifting the hips higher and higher and pushing through the hands. That's it. So we're looking just between the knees. And we're going to take our left foot to a tiptoe and then see if you can start to swoop that left leg up nice and high and stretch that up behind you. Now don't worry about squaring the hips or anything here. I just want you to really lift and stretch and lengthen that left toe wherever it will take you. Grounding down through the right heel for a lovely exploration of your stretch today. Taking the left foot back down, we'll swap to the right, so lifting the right heel, and then when you're confident, lifting the right leg and having a really good stretch and lengthen, exploring what you've got there, grounding through the left heel, stretching through the right toes, and bringing that right foot back down to the mat. We're going to start to walk our feet towards our hands this time. So good luck with that one, that's a little bit tougher, isn't it? And releasing into your forward fold. From your forward fold, start to bring yourself down towards the mat and down towards your bottom. We're going to take ourselves back to lay into our bridge position. So feet planted about hip width apart, knees hip width apart, and upper body nice and relaxed. Push your lower back into the mat, feel your core engage as the hips come closer to the rib cage. Squeeze your buttocks and then push down through the feet, start to lift the hips up into our shoulder bridge. In the shoulder bridge position, we want to be tucking that tail, squeezing that bottom to try and find length in the lumbar rather than a back bend in the lower back. We don't want compression through the lower vertebra there, so lengthening the lumbar. Stretch long through your knees to keep the front of the body nice and open. And then we're going to articulate one vertebra at a time back down towards the mat. Watch that the knees haven't splayed open or knocked inwards. Let's try and keep those hips width. Let's go again. So imprint the lower back into the mat, squeeze the bottom. Start to push down symmetrically through the feet, lifting the hips and the spine peels away from the floor. Elongate, tuck the tailbone, lengthen the lower back, lengthen through the knees. And when you're ready, gently easing yourself back down to the mat. So let's try that with some breath work. We're going to inhale at the bottom. Exhale, imprint, squeeze glutes, lift up to bridge. Inhale at the top, lengthening through the body. Exhale to return down to the mat, taking one vertebra at a time back to the comfort of the ground. Inhale. Exhale, bridging up. Inhale at the top. And exhaling to lower. So you're taking your inhale to pause at the top and the bottom, and we're moving on the exhales. So work through a few more of those for me. Keep pressing symmetrically through the feet. Keep lengthening the lumbar, squeezing the bottom so that you get that oomph from underneath to keep your hips nice and high. Keep the knees hips width apart, just watching for that. And trying to move each vertebra in turn. So giving each vertebra its own little bit of love and attention and time to shine, rather than moving in sections and segments of spine. Let's see what we can do. We're going to work for 2 more bridges here. Length at the top of the bridge. Control as we move. Beginning and ending with that pelvic tilt. Nice. So we're going to go up and hold a bridge for a little bit longer. So if you can join me up in your bridge position. We're going to take a hip dip. So we're just going to let our left hip and buttock gently twist or drop down closer towards the mat. And then squeeze the bottom to right the hips and square the hips. Right hip gently drops or twists down towards the mat, and then squeeze the bottom to lift and straighten your hips up. So you're doing a hip dip to one side and realigning. Hip dip to the other side and realigning. So keep working side to side. I'd inhale at center and exhale to move. Inhale at center, exhale to move. Inhale to hold, exhale, dip and lift. Inhale to hold, exhale, dip and lift. Lovely. Keep working with those. So feel that need to engage your glutes nice and equally as you hold, and feel the work shift left glute to right as you take your dip side to side. Nice. So you keep working with those. We've got about 3 or 4 more here. Dip and lift. Dip and lift. Dip and lift. And last time, let's find a dip and a lift. And now beautiful articulation as you bring yourself back down towards the mat. Stretch your toes to the bottom edge of your mat. Stretch your hands up to the top edge and stretch long through the body. So really allow your tummy to lengthen, particularly down the midsection of the tum. Allow your back to arch off the mat if that's what it wants to do. And then stretch your left hand up and your left foot down a bit to find extra length down the left side. And then find extra length down the right side. Perfect. Walking the feet back in. And just hug the knees into the chest and a gentle rock and roll side to side. You'll need your block or a head cushion next. We're going to do arm openings, which is a gorgeous twist for the thoracic spine and a really nice sort of rhythmic cool down. So we're going to take some sort of cushion for our block and come to lie on our side here. So I've gone for quite a tall block to keep my head and neck in line with my spine. We're bringing the hands out in front of us and hands kind of clapped together there in a palms touching position. Now I'm going to just tuck my knees, and I want my knees to stay firmly together. We don't want this top knee wiggling around and leaving, so it can be helpful to maybe just grip a little tennis ball or something between your knees to make sure they stay together. We're going to make sure the top hip stays stacked above the bottom hip so it doesn't roll forwards or backwards. Again, that will be moving your knees if your hip rolls. So hips stacked, knees stacked, hands stacked. We're then just going to see if we can start to open the top arm. Now that opens fine, that's the shoulder opening, but then I want you to start opening your chest and your ribs. So you get this lovely thoracic twist and then closing again. So it's not all about the shoulder, we're trying to get the thoracic opening as well. That's it. So find a nice inhale phase and exhale phase. Keep the knees squeezing together, particularly as you roll back, because that's where they're likely to part. That's it. And we're really getting this rib cage to twist and open. Let's stay here for 4 or 5 more. Allow your head to turn to face the ceiling if that's where it wants to go. Good, last couple. And then just change to shift onto the other side. So we'll roll over on our back and turn to face the other direction. Again, you're going to have your hands out in front of you as if you're clapping your palms together. Tuck the knees and squeeze the knees together. If you don't trust yourself, hold a tennis ball in between your knees. And again, you're going to start to open your top arm, but then start to open and twist through the rib cage. Lovely, keep the knees together, keep the top hip stacked. Back, hands together. Good, so opening and closing. So we're trying to keep the lower body quite steady, keep the knees and the hips stacked, so that all of this movement comes into our upper body, our spine twisting, our rib cage opening, trying to gently loosen and stretch any tension that we might be holding in our upper torso. Lovely, let's go for 3 or 4 more of these. Again, allowing the head to turn wherever it wants to turn. Reminding ourselves this isn't about getting our shoulder to open too far. It's about getting the spine to twist and getting some nice stretch through the trunk of the body. And bringing those palms back to touch. Take your block or your head cushion to the side and come to lay on your back. You could lie with your legs long at the bottom edge of your mat, your hands beside you with your palms turned upwards, shoulders draw down away from the ears, and take a deep breath into the body. Try and really fill the depths of your body with that breath. Filling the lungs and emptying the body. And then walking the feet in, hug the knees to the chest, bring the chin to the chest and the forehead to the knees to create a ball shape, and then use a little bit of strength and or momentum to rock and roll up and down your spine until you are up to a seated posture and coming to face this way. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've had a really nice class, and I'll see you on the next one.